As many of you guys know and let me know on Discord, Stylus Studios actually responded to my video, which is pretty admirable that they did respond this quickly. However, the response is not the best. Before I respond to this response, let me just get a few things out of the way first. Number one, a lot of people have been asking me if they can make a video about this. Yes, please make a video about this. If you have more to add to this, or if you just want to report on it, I don't care. Both of those are great. You can use clips from the video. I'm not going to take down the video. As you guys could probably tell from the video, I'm not too happy with what I found when I investigated Stylus. Number two, I've gotten probably 250 different DMs with even more stuff, so I probably will have to make a part 2. I really hope somebody like Ruben Sim makes a video about this, because I'm just one person that did an investigation, and this is so much stuff to go through. It's ridiculous. Number 3, the Cry person, which was the first Stylus mod I actually looked at the messages from. I found a bunch of really bad messages from him. He actually DM'd me on Discord. He was 13 years old when he sent those messages. He was talking with an 18-year-old about those topics, and yes, that just makes Stylus look even worse. And the last thing before I start going into this, the Cali person who was banned alongside Willow was actually one of the people who was by Willow, and they banned this individual for, quote, being a victim. They banned both of them, and they put them together. They put the and the victim in the same announcement and said, we're banning these people for their behavior. So of course, a lot of people thought that the Cali person was also a groomer, when actually they were the one being groomed. This also led to probably one of the worst mod messages I've seen on PF, and I've seen a lot in this Discord. There are a lot of bad ones. People made it a speech bubble GIF on Discord. You can see it right now. That's what he said. Oh my. But yeah, let's just get into this response and go through what they said. It says, greetings everyone. It has been a colorful journey this evening for us. As you all know, Strider has posted a video with some serious allegations against our studio with a very compelling narrative. I honestly thought the video turned out pretty bad, but a bunch of Axis messages got leaked. They started deleting everything and going into damage control before I even posted the video. So I had to rush the video completely out before, you know, they started shutting down everything. Given his status as a former CC or content creator and his past contributions to our game, we are happy to provide a response for the community and address his concerns on behalf of Stylus. I do like how they said I had contributions to the game. If you guys didn't know, I basically used to look at all the updates and then give them feedback and stuff like that. I also had DMs with every contractor except for Mar. I never had any DMs with Mar, which is lucky. And we'll get into more Mar stuff in a bit. Don't worry about that. This part where they say from a glance, what do they mean, bruh? Did they watch the video or did they glance at the video? In the content creator chat, Lido, who is one of the main PF devs, was asking people for like a summary of the video instead of just watching the video, which is great if you make a game and people are calling out your game to not even watch the video, calling them out. Anyway, there are multiple allegations pertaining to members within our community, to our staff members and contractors, and leading up lastly to one of our lead developers. The video begins with a Twitch streamer named Bella the Bat Pony, blah, blah, blah. Basically for this one, they say the admin failed to act and ban that individual for a year. And then they said, we are not involved with the content creator team. They are not involved with banning people. So for this one, they are claiming negligence. They had no idea, guys. They made this Discord for their community, for their kids game, but you know, they don't really have to look at it at all. Personally, I've never even heard of the individual until after watching this video. I think this was made by Lido, and if this is true, that's pretty bad. That was a 19-year-old talking to a 13-year-old. The claim that this oversight is indicative of questionable behavior on the developers is frankly unfounded. I think the fact that they don't know would also be pretty questionable. But this one in particular wasn't supposed to indict the developers for anything. This one was just to make a timeline. I actually had one before this that I cut from the video because it had even less to do with the developers, because this video actually just started as a just scandals of PF thing. That was basically just to talk about the scandals that have happened with this game and the content creators, because basically nobody has made a video like that before. I just wanted to post that video just to let people know what had happened and just give people information on why certain people had left, because of course the devs hadn't given information to anybody about what had happened to all those content creators. So it didn't start out as a PF devs exposed video, but then I looked into it and it turned into that because that's what I found. Next, the claim is that there were skins pertaining to the content creator case that were not removed for years, despite containing skins of known predators. This is true. Similarly, this issue did not surface to developer attention right away, and there was a lack of internal systems in place to rapidly replace skins without any existing data modification tooling that we have today. As such, we have likely assigned a lower priority to this issue while bugs and exploits drew our constant focus. That Okay, I think removing a skin from a 19-year-old that talked to a 13-year-old is probably a good idea, especially if you're not going to tell people why those individuals got banned and they still have social media up so people could go and find them, especially if they are under the age of 18. Again, this claim that our negligence to remove these skins in a timely manner constitutes developer support for predatory behavior is baseless and akin to outright defamation. I don't think I said this in the video. I'm pretty sure I just said they didn't remove the skins, and if that looks bad for the developers, that's not my problem. I just said what they did, which they just acknowledged what they did, and yeah, it looks bad because it's a bad look. Basically, they said bugs are more important than removing the skins. And yeah, I thought it was weird that they didn't remove the skins, which is why I brought it up in the video. It's a thing they did. A similar situation happened today. We would be much better equipped to process the removal due to framework improvements we have made in the last couple of years. Next, the topic of Juke is brought up, later known to be one of the most serious offenders in both Bad Business and Phantom Force's SIZ community. I don't know if he was one of the most serious offenders in Bad Business, because they banned him from Bad Business after the first thing he did. So I would probably just give it over to Phantom Forces for this one. The video primarily summarizes Juke's offenses in a roundabout manner. However, it makes a false claim that after Juke was exposed and removed by Bad Business developers for sending inappropriate messages to minors, he, quote, quickly became a Phantom Forces content creator afterwards because he was friends with AxisAngle. This entire response kind of feels like it's ChatGPT, and this also would be if they just read the transcript of the video. I had to rush out this video, and I did put something on screen that said he was actually one before. I didn't know that he was already a PF content creator, but then during editing, I realized, oh wait, he already was, so I did put something on screen. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say they just missed that, but to clarify, Juke's infractions were made known to us by Bad Business's developers while he was already an existing PF content creator. This is true, but neither team realized the extent of Juke's predatory behaviors right away. Yes, but Bad Business took the things he had already done and realized that it was already enough to ban him. If you go back to the first Jax video, that was plenty of stuff to get him removed from any community in general, much less a children's game. Our initial interpretation was that he was removed for sending inappropriate messages. Ding, ding, ding. That is true. And we assumed that his disciplinary action had already been handled within the Bad Business community. He sent inappropriate messages to kids on Roblox. I think you can ban him from every community after that. Juke later confided to us of his disciplinary action from Bad Business and wished to start anew in Phantom Forces. This part was really interesting because I thought he was already a content creator for Phantom Forces, which is true, he was, but then he basically became a full Bad Business one, and then he essentially moved back to Phantom Forces after he was kicked for talking to kids. Then they say presumably having learned his lesson. Presumably having learned his lesson. He essentially talked Axis into keeping him in the content creator program and letting him play PF, which turned out to be a pretty bad idea, not gonna lie. Remember guys, if you talk to kids only a couple of times, you probably will never do it again, as we were unaware of any infractions he had committed in the Phantom Forces Discord itself. If you do it in DMs, if you do it in a different Discord, you're fine to talk to kids, but just don't do it in ours. Just kidding, you can do it in ours, because I talked about that in the video, dude. We were to keep an eye on his behavior to see if his removal from Bad Business was sufficient, or if we needed to take action on our end, therefore delaying actions to remove him until further notice. We now know that it turned out to be well beyond the scope after Jax's video revealed more information than we were initially provided. Once we realized the extent of his actions, AxisAngle made the decision to remove him immediately. With that, I firmly believe we have acted in best faith to the knowledge provided to us at the time. Striders claim that we were harboring Juke knowingly while he was a is therefore unwarranted. AxisAngles in his apology is going to be talking about Juke a little bit, but yeah, the fact that Juke confided the messages, told the Phantom Forces developers what Juke had done. Yes, they didn't know the full extent, but the full extent is really bad. But what they already had was plenty. Of course, what happened after is even worse. So yeah, the fact that stylists kept Juke on their content creator program after the Bad Business developers contacted them about it is very bad on its own, but the problem is literally everything else stacked on top of it, right? This one event on its own wasn't enough for me to, condemn the developers. When this happened, I thought it was really bad what they had done, but I didn't go out and make a video about all of Stylus because I didn't realize how much of an issue this had been. But anyway, next, attention is brought to Hal, one of our former moderators, for having sent unsavory messages to minors dating back in 2018. This user has left on his own accord after these messages have been exposed in a Google Doc. As such, we are unable to pursue any further disciplinary action against the individual. Oh my gosh, they did not They did not watch the video. They did not watch the video. Spirals had a very long conversation with Lido about this guy, in which Lido essentially just did nothing the whole time. And now that this guy was getting a lot of different mean messages about the whole situation because he was talking to a minor in 2018, he left of his own accord. But Lido had plenty of time to do something about it. Basically, Spirals exposed Hal to Lido. Lido said, I'm not doing anything about this. And then Hal left, and now he's saying, well, he left, so I couldn't do anything about it. Yes, you could. You could. This is probably my favorite part of this whole thing. The summary is rather brief, but the concern raised in the video is that these messages still exist in the records of the public channels. The resulting conclusion appears to be that we need to clean up these channels so that younger members cannot search for or stumble onto these inappropriate messages. We agree with this, and therefore we instructed our staff to purge the history of our 8-plus-year-old public channels to ensure our young members would not encounter these messages, which, however, contradicts with Strider's later talking points of cover-up. Basically, they put words in my mouth here. This is not what I said. Then they said that we totally agree with what you didn't say. We're actually not covering up anything, which I'll talk a lot more about a cover-up in my next video. No, I did not say that the public channels should be deleted. In fact, they were deleted before I even made the video. Because if you guys remember in my last video, I talked about the fact that somebody leaked some of AxisAngle's old messages. That didn't look too good for him, so they deleted every single channel. Now they're saying we actually instructed our staff to delete these channels because of this video, because of this argument in this video that I didn't make. As an aside, there was a passing claim that our Discord lacked age verification and failed to ban users under 13. I love how they say this is a passing claim. Like, this is just something that I mentioned for 1 second. Well, I guess it kind of was. I didn't mention it for that long, but I think it's more than a passing claim. I think it's a pretty big thing. They say they fail to ban users under 13. What I got from the mod that I DM'd was not that they fail to ban users under 13, is that they don't even try, thus leading to opportunities for minors to be taken advantage of. We acknowledge that this is an issue that deserves more attention, and we will review with the staff team on what can be done to better protect our community members. They are now acknowledging this is a problem, but then they completely pretend that this was my claim. This was not my passing claim. This was not my claim. I DM'd one of the admins, hey, what do you guys do about people under 13? And he said they don't even try to ban them. This part is also very funny. The video moves to former mapmaker WolfDawgz, summarizing the inappropriate messages and photos he has sent to minors. Early on, we received numerous reports with screenshots regarding these inappropriate messages. However, we were unable to immediately verify through Discord whether the submitted screenshots were legitimate or fabricated. We have also been informed that there were many users who seek to witch hunt this user, so we had conflicting information. We decided we needed more time before making any conclusions regarding the reports. Later on, our admin team discovered further evidence that these reports, including evidence of the illicit photos, were verified to be true. We immediately ceased ties with WolfDawgz and reported the issue directly to Discord. Let me guess, Discord didn't do anything. We decided that if legal action was required with authorities, Discord themselves would be able to escalate the case as necessary. This is a community of people. They need to actually be informed on what is going on. With this, we consider the issue to be resolved and did not make any public announcements to avoid drawing attention from intrigued community members who may seek out these illicit photos themselves to spread around for amusement. So remember, guys, this is the predator we are talking about. We need to make sure that he doesn't get embarrassed from people spreading photos of him. They didn't tell people that this guy was talking to kids because they wanted to protect his photos. Are you kidding? Dude, do I even need to explain why that's just... Mar, inaccurately described as a 4th developer. I think I said he's number 4, like the 4th most important developer on the game. And yes, technically he isn't a developer, he was a contractor. But in terms of the hierarchy in the people working at Stylist, he was number 4. I don't think you guys can argue that he wasn't number 4. So they're saying I inaccurately described him as a 4th developer. I think I said he was the 4th most important. And they're saying, oh, this is not the definition of a developer. I meant he was the 4th most important person working on the game. If he's not technically a developer, he's technically a contractor. I guess you can use that to say this claim is completely false. Was one of our former contractors hired to manage content updates during a time when the lead developers, myself, were busy with college. So he was doing a lot of this stuff during that time. The video summarizes the strings of his inappropriate messaging conduct with minors and the timing of his announcements to quit suddenly. When we perceived reports of these, our initial perception was that it was the start of another attempted witch hunt. It's funny that the 2 people that have been quote unquote witch hunted actually talk to minors due to Mar's wavering reputation among certain community members. He was pretty hated though. I remember a lot of people didn't like him. Nonetheless, we took the allegations seriously and we asked him to step down out of respect while we reviewed the reports. Basically for Juke, they left him as a content creator and presumed he'd learned his lesson. The guy who actually was confirmed to talk to kids, he's allowed to stay on. But Mar, who was very hated and people could have realistically faked these screenshots, he had to step down, but Juke didn't. Which is bad because the Mar thing happened before Juke. So for Mar, they made him step down, and then for Juke, they kept him on. It's like they got worse at it. In what world would you have him step down if you didn't believe it was true? But then for the guy where it actually happened, you didn't. It doesn't make any sense. As the evidence turned out to be validated, his voluntary resignation transformed into a permanent dismissal from our team. Are you sure about that actually? However, we determined his overall infractions were not on the same level as Juke, and so this was deemed sufficiently handled. An additional announcement for his further departure seemed unnecessary. Remember guys, this is the number 4 guy. It goes Lido, Axis, Shaylin 007 or whatever his name is, and then it went Mar. Mar was number 4. You can't argue on that. He was the number 4 guy. In fact, from their own statements in this, he was essentially the number 1 guy on the game during this. But when he talks to minors in the server where he is making a game, which also happens to be a kid's game, you don't have to announce it. You guys don't actually have to announce it. It's actually perfectly fine. Because yes, his Discord is still around, his Twitter is still around, all of his stuff is still there, especially the not safe for work accounts he has are still around, and you didn't tell anybody that he likes kids. In hindsight, this was an unsatisfactory response for the community, and we acknowledge that inadequacy in our thought process. Okay, on their own, each of these are very weird, and I would be like, what are these guys doing? But when you put together every single one, yeah, it's a consistent behavior with these people. Willow, the next contractor to replace Mar, is later found with similar reports of inappropriate messaging behavior with minors. A summary of how the reports were handled is presented, leading up to a public firing of Willow based on additional evidence that was later discovered to unveil the true severity of their infractions. Yeah, they were pretty bad. I saw some of the things. Strider concludes here that Stylus has learned their lesson in making a public announcement this time compared to the previous cases. However, Strider immediately follows up to make a highly accusatory and fabricated claim that Sid9 is secretly Willow using an alt account. For Sid9, who I have spent countless hours training to onboard into the PF content pipeline systems on such short notice, this is outright insulting to the team. We chose Sid9, a close mutual friend among the lead developers with blah, 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 blah. We have ill intentions, and we hope that the community would continue to respect his dedication in keeping Phantom Force's content ongoing. I will say that the Willow thing is the only thing I was like, maybe it's not true, which is why I said allegedly. The fact that between the days when Axis said that Willow was stepping down with the ability to come back and permanently stepping down, the Sid9 account was created and said, I'm going to be the next contractor, is super weird. Remember, they said that they were going to become a contractor before the extra things about Willow came out. So this is Sid9 being created on a day where Willow could still come back to the game and then immediately saying, oh, I want to be a contractor someday. Is that not suspicious? Also, the person that told me this is somebody who I hope will come forward because I do trust that they would know things like this. They were a person that had a lot of community connections, but unfortunately that person has not come forward. I really hope they will. You can say this is the thing that proves that my video is bad. The only problem is, let's go back up to Mar, okay? We took the allegations seriously and we asked him to step down out of respect. Remember, that was on April Fool's Day 2021. However, apparently in October of 2021, had a conversation with Shaylan 007, which is the third main developer, as I said, about the fact that Mar could maybe be working on the game still. And after pushing Shay enough, he said he's in the process of onboarding new developers. So 6 months after they had him step down, he was still working on the game. This isn't Willow we're talking about, this is Mar. However, the Willow thing happened after Mar. So if they let Mar stay around for that long, they're probably gonna let Willow to stay a little bit after as well. And they both do not deserve to be getting paid to work on a children's game after they got fired, after they were exposed. It can happen with one, and so it can probably happen with the other. And before I was about to start recording this video, I actually got another smoking gun about this, which is that oh my gosh, I cannot believe this happened. In 2022, I think February, Corny uploaded a video about the shotguns getting nerfed in Phantom Forces. Corny used to be a Phantom Forces YouTuber, now he's just a ROBLOX YouTuber. The reason that he knew about this update was that guess who DM'd him about it? It was Mar.
Mar sent me a nice little DM. He said, just wanted to let you know of something you might be interested in. Test place is finally out after much delay or whatever.
Remember, guys, this is February 2022. 10 months later. So yeah, while I can't prove that Willow is still working on the game, I think Mar was still working on the game because the devs actually said this. Further in the video, Strider chooses out of context clips of Axis' stream to imply that Axis must be feeling some sort of predatory guilt with these unprompted statements on stream, going as far as to make connections to Juke's actions. I just said, is he a Juke type individual? I don't know. And then I put maybe on the screen because of what happened after. This editing choice comes across as highly disingenuous and malicious and openly threatening. And I don't think this is highly disingenuous or malicious to say maybe. We'll get into that. We'll get into that. I can't believe this, dude. I can't believe it. Yeah, because we'll get into this. And finally, Strider makes the claim that Stylus has chosen to cover up all of its behaviors in private chats, particularly pertaining to AxisAngle's chat records back in 2016. Which they did. As of a few days ago, multiple users have coincidentally reported these messages to us and presented their concerns to us regarding the hazards of a top developer having made such messages, the blah, blah, blah. They further recommended that we take action immediately to purge these messages so that our younger community members would not be able to chance upon them. Upon review, we agreed with this decision to replace all of our public channels as suggested by the user report. Strider, however, claims this is an act of covering up evidence of wrongdoing, which we firmly refute with our motivation stated here, except that now you can't see any of the bad messages any of the mods and developers have made. Oh my gosh, it's such a coincidence that you can't see any of them anymore. What the frick? Oh no. There's even more Axis messages like this one, which was in 2018, which is, he was 22. But man, if there were more of them, I mean, dude, it's so unlucky that you guys can't find it anymore. Oh no. As for AxisAngle's chat behavior, they were unbecoming for a lead developer and involved sensitive topics that do not abide by our Discord guidelines today. We would, however, point out that the message was sent is dark satire. In poor taste during an age of immaturity at the age of 20 years old. Once again, these statements are super weird and happened on multiple different occasions. Same with the Twitch thing. I saw the Twitch clips months and months ago, but I didn't immediately jump and make a video because none of it had clicked yet. You know what I mean? Most of the things from this video I learned in the past couple of weeks just by investigating. And I do believe that these messages could have been dark satire, like really, really bad jokes. It was 2016, you know, he was 20 years old and joking about that stuff. It's still really bad. It's the fact that these guys are essentially just admitting to everything I talked about in the video. They refute two things, which is the Willow thing, and then they come up with like a couple random things that I said wrong in the video. But everything else they've said, my bad. We should have maybe announced this. And like I said, one of those things on its own is still weird, but it's not enough for me to turn on this game, make this video, but it's everything that I found, and I found so many things. Nonetheless, our studio will continue to evaluate if action is needed against AxisAngle depending on whether further reports of victims involved due to his behavior will surface to us. Oh my gosh. I think these people live in the same house with each other, by the way. I think they do. I can't remember though. But guys, they wouldn't even know if AxisAngles has done anything before. Please, nobody come up with anything or else we're gonna have to fire him. Until then, we currently stand by our conviction that none of these statements alone indicate that AxisAngle... Yeah, none of these statements alone. I agree with that. None of these statements alone indicate that AxisAngle or any of the lead developers, myself or Shay, are in support of behavior against minors. To continue baseless claims with these as evidence would be considered acts of defamation against our team. Is this supposed to be like a veiled threat of a defamation lawsuit? There is no way you can say this is defamation. You guys just admitted to everything in this video, basically. And for the one thing that I don't know, which is the Willow thing, I got that information from a different person and also said allegedly because that was the one thing I didn't really know. And like I said, none of these statements alone indicate any of these things. However, together, I do think that they do indicate something. But it does show that they do not care what happens to people as long as they're not really impacted. They have continued to sweep this under the rug, which is why this video completely blew up the community. Because pretty much everybody underneath the surface has been thinking about these things, and it really just took somebody to connect the dots and realize that this is not something that should be happening on a Roblox game or any game in general, to be honest. Ultimately, my goal is to provide great games that our community can enjoy. We have a lot to learn and improve with how we handle our community, but we will continue to make our best effort with our staff and core development team. Dude, this is sad. It would be so easy. It's like Roblox. The same thing with Ruben Sim, where you have people that are trying to help you get these people out of your community, but you seem to essentially be doing not just nothing, but you essentially seem to be pushing back against it. It's so weird. But before we get to all the other statements, let's get into the first AxisAngle's apology, okay? Because this is a really important apology to talk about. As you guys probably know from the first video, the day before I uploaded that video, a bunch of AxisAngle's old messages got leaked, and this was AxisAngle's apology for that, because he really does care about his apology, guys. And this one is Shia LaBeouf saying, "This morning we received multiple reports regarding edgy jokes made in the server back in 2016. We don't personally subscribe to the comment/jokes made, but when reviewing the evidence, we came to the conclusion that almost all the server messages at that time required some level of action on our part. Acknowledging this, we decided to archive all channels created before 2018. This server started as a community that didn't take itself seriously, and with that, our server rules, policies, and channels reflected that. When the server became partnered and linked to Phantom Forces, all of that changed. Hopefully people understand why we archive chats. Going through 2 years of very active chat messages in multiple channels just didn't seem feasible." Wait, I thought this was about AxisAngle's messages. Why is it written by a different person and it doesn't mention him and he doesn't apologize? That's because this was the day that the Axis messages got leaked, but because I didn't upload my video, these people weren't pressured to do anything, which is why they were going to sweep it under the rug again, dude. It's so silly that it's been 3 days as of uploading this video since they wrote this message, and in their response, they're trying to pretend they don't sweep things under the rug. Even though when Axis made these messages, they shut down the Discord and then posted this instead of him apologizing. It's ridiculous. Unless I uploaded this video, nothing would happen. This is why I uploaded the video. Now we have the AxisAngle apology, and it has some good in it. It says, "I have several major regrets. I am embarrassed by my conduct in the early days of the Discord and how my actions normalized misbehavior and put adult topics in a place accessible to minors. These unnuanced, provocative takes and vulgar jokes were not right for me to make. For that, I am sorry." Which, if this was the only thing that he did, and there's even more stuff that people have found and DM'd me about, but if this was the only thing he did, I would be like, that is so weird. But I think if he made an apology, it would have been fine. But the problem is, he had the opportunity to make an apology. But when people found his messages, instead, he had a different person make a statement that didn't even mention him. And it's really sad because a lot of people have been throwing so much stuff at AxisAngle. And it's really sad because I did not think that AxisAngle would do that. He said he failed to protect our community from Juke. I failed to gain an understanding of what he really was, allowing him to keep making content, which is great that he responded to this. And like I said, this would have been a good response to this if this was the only thing that happened. And this is not the only thing that happened. That's the problem. I want to address some claims in the video. There are accusations that Sid9 is actually Willow. Sid9 is not Willow. Please do not harass him. When I said that we may rehire Willow, this was after we removed her, but before real evidence came through. The first claims to come out against Willow, while not savory, were not illegal and seemed politically motivated. There was a lot of nuance here. A day after the fact, more people came out, this time with legitimate claims against Willow, which we immediately acted on. I was never Juke's friends. My first real interactions, just after I learned of him, occurred at Midwest Fur Fest when he asked if we could meet up for dinner. It was the most awkward set of interactions I've ever had. He manipulated another person into giving him money so he could buy me something, and then tried to manipulate me into being his boyfriend after drinking a whole bottle of my wine. But at least in 2021, you were like 26. At the time, I didn't see this as manipulation. But what? He didn't. Juke would tell a sob story, get you to feel sorry for him, and then turn around and whatever lenience you gave him. It was like he could not stop himself from taking the worst possible action at every opportunity. My takeaway is that I got a small taste of what it's like to be one of Juke's victims. Unfortunately, the reason why I was on stream talking about different levels of infraction and harm is because, ironically, cancel culture makes no room for nuance. For me, cancel culture just means you said something bad back in 2016. This is a little bit different than what I would normally think. I would normally think of just a off-color joke. And yeah, the things that he said in 2016 were pretty bad. They were in a kids server, but it's everything else that's the problem. I wasn't even going to put those screenshots in the video until I realized that he was 20 when he said that, because I understand that people make really weird jokes, but to be 20 years old in a kids game server that you own, saying those things and then doing everything else, dude, come on, man. But maybe my position as a privileged male allows me the comfort to consider more nuanced takes. What? I don't know what that means. Unfortunately, I feel my presumption that people are not out to cause harm actually, in turn, makes room for those people to perpetuate it. Maybe Juke is not the exception, but a norm. Okay, is he talking about me saying I am out to cause harm and cancel culture or whatever? Absolutely not the case. Because I actually liked this game. I'll probably go into that in part 2, but dude, I did not want to have to make the video that I did. We have always given second chances at stylists. This is probably a mistake in many cases. I've already taken major steps to prevent Juke and Willow-like cases. We will formally discuss policy changes with staff to better address the future. The problem with this is that this did not happen after Juke. This did not happen after Willow. This did not happen even after Axis was exposed. This is after my video. So the fact that these people are saying that my video is slanderous and is spreading a hateful narrative and all this stuff, but they only make changes when I made my video. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous, dude. This is so stupid, dude. I cannot believe that they wait until my video and then they're like, well, actually, this video is bad, but actually, we're gonna maybe start actually doing something about this stuff. They finally start to bring this stuff up when I bring it to light, and then they say, this video is actually very bad and harmful, but you will continue to cover it up until I actually talk about it. It's ridiculous. Now, this is the most fun part of this, okay? Finally, if anyone has evidence of me victimizing or abusing them, they can make it public or report it to staff, and then we can deal with the consequences. Can you guys read that again? So he made an apology, but there was definitely something else going on here. How else are people supposed to take that message? If anyone has evidence, you should make a report, and then we can deal with the consequences. If you didn't do anything, he wouldn't say this. He wouldn't say this if he didn't do anything. I talked to Ruben Sim. Both of us could agree that Axis was weird. I think this game is harmful, and it's sad because I really liked the game. But I can't really take this any other way. I think that yeah, I don't know, dude. And then AxisAngle says, we are working with staff to assess what we will do moving forward, how much staff we will have left, and how to make changes to our policy to provide a safe environment for the community. We will announce this action plan in addition to some clarifying statements in a follow-up response. This may take a while. What they're probably doing here is preparing to throw AxisAngles under the bus and say that the other two developers are fine and that they weren't involved in anything and we can just keep moving on. Am I clean? Are you kidding me, dude? Anyway, this video has been very difficult to record. But yeah, I hope I can explain why this response was not good. Yeah, see you guys.